This is the last video of the 4-part series that we did on hybrid mutual funds. In this video, we are going to address what is the fund that is available from the hybrid mutual fund category for the aggressive investor. I'm then going to talk about multi-asset allocation funds. And in the third part, we are just going to assimilate all the information that we've got and figure out how to use this information to make a decision. So with that, let's begin. What is the fund which is available for an aggressive investor? An aggressive investor, remember, we categorize as somebody who is willing to take about a 70-75% drawdown on his investments. Remember, when we say drawdown, it is always from the peak and not from the point of your investment. For this investor, the fund that fits in is the aggressive hybrid mutual fund. Remember the features of this if you go back to video 1, and I'll just recap that for you. An aggressive hybrid mutual fund invests 65% to 80% in equity and equity related instruments. While I couldn't find anything that prohibits them from taking arbitrage positions, but when I was talking to these fund managers and relationship managers of mine, what we noticed was that they didn't really take arbitrage positions because that would cut down on their returns in a bull run. Most of them were about 70-75% invested in actual equity stocks. Now let's get on to part 2, which is about multi-asset allocation funds. Again, a quick recap. Multi-asset allocation funds are funds that have at least three asset classes, and in each asset class, the bare minimum has to be 10%. Now, why is suddenly multi-asset allocation funds making all that noise? Why are they making all this noise? So the reason is that because gold started doing well, and this was one way of capturing the upside on gold besides gold ETFs, to go in for a multi-asset allocation fund. So a lot of them, the third asset class that the multi-asset allocation funds picked up was commodities, in which they picked up gold. Now there are funds which have picked up silver as well and other commodities as well. There are funds which have picked up gold and real estate and international equities. So the underlying being that they have at least 3 asset classes. There are not too many mutual funds of schemes of a decent AUM within this category, but the top names that come to my mind under multi-asset allocation funds are SBI, Axis, ICICI, Motilal Oswal is a recent fund. Its AUM is quite small, but its positioning is a little different, and now let me explain that to you. So a multi-asset allocation fund does not have any predefined how much you have to be in A asset classes, but generally by and large most of them are 65% into equities so that they can take advantage of the equity taxation. Motilal, on the other hand, has positioned itself as a debt plus multi-asset allocation fund, where it's endeavoring to give you 2% above fixed deposits. So which is also the reason why I didn't categorize multi-asset allocation either for a conservative or a moderate or an aggressive investor. You will have to get into which fund you are picking up to figure out which side of the spectrum it is on. Now for the concluding part of the series and of this video, you've got all this information. Remember, my promise to you has always been that I will put you in a position where nobody can take advantage of you, nobody can make a fool of you. You know the basics and you know enough, and in some cases more than maybe your advisor also, where you and him can take sensible decisions together. Try not to venture out on your own and take decisions on your own, because there are a lot of minute details that come into taking a decision, and as an investor you don't have access to these AMCs to be able to dig out that information, right? So what you're going to do now is you're going to see these 4 videos, figure out which category of fund is most applicable to you. Is it dynamic asset allocation? Is it the conservative hybrid fund? Is it equity savings fund? Now within that category, you will then go to your financial advisor and tell him that bring me options here, right? Now when you're telling him or her bring me options here, you will tell her to have these checks. You will tell them to see the debt side of the portfolio of this fund. Okay, there's going to be some upheaval in debt consequent to this moratorium, and also consequent to the fact that a lot of balance sheets are stressed at this point in time. So you don't want to pick up any fund which has got any questionable debt papers. Then you will sit down with your financial advisor and figure out what is your view on equity. Is it the large cap space, the mid cap space, small cap space? Which one is going to do well? And you will pick up a fund that is most aligned to your view. So if you think mid and small caps are going to do well, you might want to pick up not a multi-asset, but a hybrid mutual fund, which is on the multi-cap space in the equity component of it. And then you will also ask a financial advisor to do sanitary checks like what is the AUM. Please don't go in for a 4 or a 9 crore AUM, and there are some of those funds there. You will ask them to see the consistency of funds and softer issues like, remember I pointed out there is one fund which is an equity savings fund but not using the hybrid strategy, not using arbitrage in its strategy. So if you go into that fund, then consciously go into that fund knowing that this is an aggressive fund in the equity savings fund. So you must know those finer points, and that could work to your advantage. An aggressive fund in the equity savings fund could work to your advantage. But make sure that your view is aligned to the category of fund, and within that category of fund, the fund that you're picking up. So with that, this 4-part series is over. I hope I've been able to value add to you, and I'm going to wish you a nice November. I think by the time the 4th one comes out, it'll be almost November. So start preparing for Diwali and let's get excited. Good night.